For a long time, we've kind of pictured cybersecurity as this giant castle wall, right? You build it high, you make it strong, and you defend against the occasional attack. But what if the siege never ever ends? Today, we're going to dive into a massive shift in how the experts are looking at cybersecurity. It's a move away from just playing defense and into a state of permanent, ongoing conflict. This quote from Lisa Gustafsson at Sweden's Ministry of Defense really just hits the nail on the head. She said this at the Munich Cybersecurity Conference, and it perfectly captures this new reality. Look, it's no longer a question of if a disruption is going to happen. The real question is, how do we keep everything running while it's happening?
So, what does this new era actually look like? Well, officials are now saying it out loud. Cyber threats aren't just one-off incidents anymore. They're a permanent, persistent feature of our world. We're past the idea of isolated attacks, and we're now in a long-term, continuous confrontation.
And this slide really breaks it down perfectly. The old way of thinking was totally reactive. You're a knight in the castle, you wait for the attack, you fight it off, and then you rebuild. The new reality, it demands something completely different. It's about constant operational resilience. The goal isn't just to survive the hit, it's to keep the lights on, to keep society functioning, even when you're under constant fire.
And just as we're trying to get our heads around this new state of permanent conflict, a new force has just exploded onto the scene, and it is supercharging everything. And you know what I'm talking about. Artificial intelligence. It's turning out to be both an incredibly powerful weapon for attackers and, at the same time, a source of brand new vulnerabilities we've never even seen before.
So let's start with how AI is helping the bad guys. And this isn't just some theory, okay? We are already seeing solid evidence that AI is being used to build really sophisticated malware, way faster than before. It's lowering the barrier to entry so you don't have to be a genius coder anymore to create some really dangerous stuff. A perfect and frankly scary case study for this is something called VoidLink. Now, this is not your average computer virus. It's a super advanced malware framework, and researchers are pretty convinced it was built with a lot of help from an AI coding agent, like a large language model.
And the really crucial thing to get here is just how capable this thing is. I mean, VoidLink is like a cybercriminal's Swiss Army knife. It can hit all the big cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. It can steal credentials from the most sensitive places you can imagine, and it can even fingerprint the system it's in to change its attack on the fly. It's smart, it's sneaky, and it is incredibly dangerous.
And this is what really brings home the danger. Researchers found these little clues inside VoidLink's code, things like really messy log files and weird labels that a pro-human developer would have cleaned up. It's like the AI did all the heavy lifting, which allowed someone without elite skills to create an elite-level threat. It's like AI is democratizing cybercrime.
But it's not just about how AI can help attackers build weapons. The very AI tools that we're building to help ourselves can actually create totally new kinds of security holes. Flaws that our old security playbooks just weren't designed to handle.
Okay, get ready for this next example. Security researchers found a massive vulnerability in the desktop extensions for the AI assistant Claude. And this wasn't some minor bug. It was a zero-click vulnerability. That means the victim doesn't have to click on anything, download anything, or do anything at all to get hacked.
And just to really put a fine point on how serious this was, the vulnerability was given a CVSS score, that's the system they use to rate these things, of 10.0. A perfect 10. In the world of cybersecurity, it literally does not get more critical than that.
So how on earth does an attack like this even work? Well, it's actually kind of simple, which is what makes it so scary. An attacker sends you a Google Calendar invite with malicious code hidden inside. Later, you just give your AI a normal, vague command like, hey, check my latest events and take care of it. The AI, trying to be helpful, goes, reads the invite, and then executes the hidden code all by itself, completely taking over your computer.
And here's the real kicker. When the researchers told Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, about this, their response was that this kind of flaw falls outside our current threat model. Wow, that perfectly illustrates the problem, right? AI is creating ways to attack us that we haven't even thought of yet.
This whole thing just blows up this massive question. If an AI tool gets hacked because of the data it's processing, who's on the hook for that? The AI company? You, the user? The person who created the malicious data? It's a total catch-22. To get all the amazing benefits of AI, you have to give it deep access to your stuff. But that very access creates these completely new risks.
So we're facing permanent threats and these totally unpredictable AI risks. How do we even begin to respond?
Well, the answer isn't just a better firewall. It requires a complete rethinking of what national security even means, moving towards what some are calling a whole-of-society defense.
And Sweden is actually a fantastic example of this new way of thinking. They're responding to this new era of conflict by dusting off and reviving their Cold War-era concept of total defense. So what exactly is total defense? Well, it's not just about the military. It's a whole-of-society strategy. It brings together the military, civilian government agencies, and, this is the key part, the private sector. The goal is to protect every essential service, from healthcare and energy to the food and water supply, because in a modern conflict, those are the real targets.
Now, it's interesting to compare this to what's being talked about in the United States. The US is pushing a whole-of-government strategy. That's all about making sure every government agency is on the same page. Sweden's total defense goes a step further by officially bringing in the private companies that actually run most of the critical infrastructure. Both are a huge leap forward, but they show there's a real debate happening about how deep these partnerships need to go.
But you know what? Even a whole-of-society defense isn't the end of the story. The final, and maybe the most important evolution in strategy is the shift from just being defensive or resilient to being proactive. It's just not enough anymore to get really good at taking punches.
And this is the critical point. The new goal is to stop the punches from ever being thrown. It's all about actively changing the equation for the adversary, making attacks way more difficult, way more costly, and just less appealing for them to even try in the first place.
The U.S. National Cyber Director Sean Cairncross put it perfectly with this quote. He basically says that being resilient, as good as it sounds, just means you're absorbing shots. You're on defense. And in this new era, that is not a winning strategy. We need a whole new mindset. So how do you actually do that? How do you change their calculus? Well, it really comes down to 3 big steps. First, you deepen those public-private partnerships so threat intel flows back and forth instantly. Second, you build strong international alliances, so you're presenting a united front. And third, you use every tool in the box, diplomacy, law enforcement, and yes, even offensive cyber capabilities, to raise the cost for anyone who's thinking about an attack.
At the end of the day, this whole proactive stance is about sending a crystal clear message. It's about creating a real deterrent in cyberspace. The goal is to make any potential attacker know for sure that if they come after you, they are putting their own operations, their own money, and maybe even their own freedom at risk.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. We've moved way beyond just defending a castle. We're now playing a permanent, high-stakes game on a global board. And in this game, just playing defense is a losing strategy. The only way to win is to change the rules of the game itself. And the question that leaves us with is, are we ready to play?